Welcome to another episode of our video series of the mechanics of human cognition. It's great to have you here. Today, we're getting into a really fundamental conflict, a kind of cognitive tug-of-war that pretty much all of us feel. It's this constant battle between planning for our future and enjoying the life we have right now.
And you know the dilemma well, right? On one hand, you've got save for tomorrow, be responsible, delay gratification, build a secure future. On the other, you've got live for today. You only live once, so enjoy it now. We're taught that this is a basic trade-off. But what if that whole way of framing the problem is actually wrong?
What if this entire conflict, this whole dilemma, is built on a massive misunderstanding of what it even means to live for today? Let's really look at this, because when you dig into the cognitive science of it all, you find something pretty surprising. So our modern culture has basically hijacked the whole idea of carpe diem, seize the day. It's been twisted and turned into a marketing slogan, really. It's become a justification for a very, very specific kind of behavior. This is the version we all recognize, isn't it? It's this idea that living for today means consumption, a kind of frantic, hedonistic pursuit of pleasure. It's about using shopping or substances or whatever to kind of numb the present moment instead of actually being in it. From a psychological standpoint, this is a classic case of experiential avoidance, and let me tell you, as a life strategy, it is incredibly expensive.
And that's the key right there. This behavior isn't about living in the now, it's about escaping the now. Cognitively speaking, it's a reflex, and a costly one at that. We feel some kind of void or anxiety or just an absence in the present moment, and our instinct is to try and fill it with a purchase. We're literally spending money to distract ourselves from the very moment we claim to be living in.
To really understand why we do this, we've got to look under the hood at the cognitive mechanics that kick in when we're about to buy something. We have to examine the psychology of what's happening in the brain. And look, decades of research in behavioral economics have made this crystal clear. The huge majority of our purchasing decisions are driven by our emotions, not by rational thought. We're often just trying to manage how we feel inside, to patch up a sense of emptiness, soothe an old wound, or just chase that temporary high. It's an emotional act that we disguise as a practical one.
Now this is where it gets really fascinating. The data shows the incredible power of just a tiny bit of cognitive friction. If you can get someone to just pause for 2 minutes, that's it, just 2 minutes, before making an impulse buy, well, over 90% of the time, they'll abandon the purchase. 90%. All it takes is a brief moment for our rational brain to catch up.
And this shows you exactly how that cognitive sequence works. It all starts with some kind of emotional trigger. That sparks a powerful drive for instant gratification. And in that moment, our rational brain, the part that's supposed to ask, do I really need this? It gets completely bypassed. So we make the purchase, and boom, we get a little hit of dopamine, a feeling of temporary relief. But it's just that, temporary. The real emotional trigger is still there, just waiting to start the loop all over again. Okay, so this brings us to the real paradigm shift. If consumerism is just a pricey escape from the present moment, what's the alternative? Well, it's about redefining what our most valuable asset actually is. Hint, it's not what's in your bank account, it's your presence. So let's be really clear about the counterfeit version of being present. The consumerist present is all about distraction and escape. It costs a fortune, not just in money, but in our attention, which is arguably even more valuable. It's a state of really high stimulation, but incredibly low awareness. Now contrast that with the real deal. The mindful present is a state of deep, conscious engagement with whatever is happening right now. And the best part? It costs $0. All it requires is your attention. And here's the secret. This state is naturally frugal. When you're truly engaged, that constant craving for more stuff, for external stimulation, it just fades away. St. Augustine absolutely nailed this centuries ago with this quote: deep thought, awareness, philosophy. These acts of presence might not make you rich, but they save you from the endless cycle of spending. Why? Because you're already fulfilled by your own awareness. You're engaged. It's pretty hard to be deep in thought and mindlessly shopping at the same time. So you see, saving for tomorrow versus living for today, it's a totally false choice. The real investment, the one that gives you the absolute highest return, is cultivating your ability to actually be present. This is it. This is the ultimate truth of our existence. You can lose money and you can earn it back.
You can lose your stuff and buy new stuff, but you can never, ever get back a single moment of time once it's gone. Life is only happening in one place, right now. And the return on investing your attention is just staggering. When you're truly present, your experiences are richer, which means you form more vivid, lasting memories. You feel less anxious because you're not lost in worries about the future or regrets about the past. Frugality just happens. It's not a sacrifice. You learn better, your creativity flows, and you connect more deeply with people. I mean, that's the definition of a rich life, isn't it? Just think about your day so far. How much of it was just autopilot? This is so critical because of how our memory works. Our brains don't bother to record experiences when we're not paying attention. So our life story, the very fabric of who we are, is literally stitched together only from the moments where our awareness was shining a light. The rest, it just gets lost. So the real question isn't about saving your money versus spending it. It's about how you allocate your most precious, non-renewable asset, your attention. Your entire life is just the sum of your moments of awareness. So what are you choosing to be aware of?